Hey warrior, there's a storm outside. The wind is howling, the rain is pouring, trees are shaking, and everything feels out of control. But inside the house, one candle quietly burns, still and unmoved. That's the kind of mind we all need. A mind that stays calm, even when life throws chaos at us. But that's not how most of us live. We get stuck in traffic, and we explode. Someone says something rude, and we can't stop thinking about it. We lose control over small things, and in doing so, we lose control over our whole day. The ancient Stoics understood something that modern science is just catching up to. Your mind is like a muscle, and just like any muscle, you can train it to be stronger, steadier, and more resilient. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire during some of its most challenging times, wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Think about that for a moment. The most powerful man in the ancient world wasn't talking about controlling armies or conquering lands. He was talking about something much more profound, controlling his own mind. Because he knew what we often forget. The real battle isn't happening out there in the world. It's happening right here between your ears. What I'm about to share with you isn't theory. These aren't feel-good quotes to make you smile for 5 minutes. These are practical, battle-tested principles that have helped millions of people across thousands of years develop real, lasting calm. Not the fake calm that crumbles the moment something goes wrong, but the deep, authentic calm that comes from understanding how your mind really works. You see, most people think calmness means nothing bad ever happens to you, but that's not calmness. That's just good luck. Real calmness is when bad things happen and you don't fall apart. Real calmness is when your world gets shaken and you remain steady. Real calmness is when everyone around you is losing their minds and you become the eye of the storm. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about developing the inner strength to face reality clearly without being overwhelmed by it. It's about building a mind that can handle whatever life throws at you, not because you're avoiding the storm, but because you've learned to dance in the rain. Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs this. Subscribe to the channel if you're ready to master your emotions and become mentally unshakable. And please, don't skip any part of this video. You'll regret missing even one point. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My mind is calmer than the storm around me. Let's train the mind together. Number 1. Build a mind that doesn't need everything to be okay. Life will never give you a perfect day where everything goes according to plan. Never. And the sooner you accept this reality, the sooner you can start building real inner peace. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the uncontrollable. They need their boss to be in a good mood, their kids to behave perfectly, their relationships to have zero conflict, and their plans to work out exactly as expected. When any of these things don't happen, which is most of the time, they fall apart. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest teachers, said something revolutionary. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This wasn't just philosophy for him, it was survival. He learned to find peace even when he had no control over his external circumstances. Think about the last time you got really stressed out. I bet it wasn't because something terrible happened to you. It was probably because something small didn't go the way you expected it to. Your coffee order was wrong. Traffic was heavier than usual. Someone didn't text you back fast enough. Your internet was slow. These tiny disruptions threw off your entire day because you had unconsciously decided that everything needed to be perfect for you to be okay. But what if you didn't need everything to be perfect? What if you could be genuinely peaceful even when things go wrong? This isn't about lowering your standards or giving up on your goals. This is about separating your inner peace from external circumstances. The ancient Stoics had a powerful exercise for this. They would regularly imagine losing everything they cared about, their health, their wealth, their loved ones. Not because they were pessimistic, but because they wanted to practice being okay even in worst-case scenarios. They called this negative visualization, and it trained their minds to find stability that didn't depend on everything going right. Here's how you can start applying this today. The next time something small goes wrong, your phone battery dies, you spill coffee on your shirt, someone cuts you off in traffic, use it as training. Instead of immediately getting frustrated, pause and ask yourself, can I be okay even though this happened? Notice I'm not asking you to be happy about it or pretend it's good. I'm asking if you can maintain your inner equilibrium even when your external world isn't perfect. Because this is exactly what a trained mind does. It doesn't need ideal conditions to function well. Start with small inconveniences and work your way up. Practice being calm when your plans change. Practice being peaceful when people disappoint you. Practice being centered when technology doesn't work the way you want it to. Each time you choose calm over chaos in these small moments, you're building mental muscle that will serve you when bigger challenges come. Remember, this isn't about becoming emotionless or not caring about anything. You can still have preferences. You can still work toward goals and want good things to happen, but you're no longer held hostage by the need for everything to be perfect. When you build a mind that doesn't need everything to be okay, something amazing happens. You become genuinely free. Free from the exhausting cycle of constantly needing to control everything around you. Free from the anxiety that comes from pinning your peace on circumstances you can't control. Free to respond to life from a place of strength instead of desperation. This is the foundation of all inner calm, the recognition that your peace doesn't come from your circumstances, but from your response to your circumstances. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My peace does not depend on perfection. Number 2, don't trust every thought you think. Your mind is not your friend. I know that sounds harsh, but it's one of the most liberating truths you'll ever learn. Your brain produces around 60,000 thoughts per day, and most of them are complete garbage. They're repetitive, negative, irrational, and designed to keep you stressed, worried, and constantly on edge. The ancient Stoic Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. In his personal writings, he reminded himself how much trouble he avoids, who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself. He knew that the mind loves to create problems that don't actually exist. Here's what's happening in your head right now. Your brain is constantly running worst-case scenarios, replaying embarrassing moments from your past, and creating elaborate stories about what other people think of you. It's telling you that you're not good enough, that something terrible is about to happen, or that you should be worried about 17 different things that are completely outside your control. But here's the thing. None of this mental chatter is actually real. It's just your brain doing what brains do. Your mind is like a hyperactive security guard that sees danger everywhere, even when you're perfectly safe. It's trying to protect you, but it's terrible at its job. Most people make the mistake of believing every thought that pops into their head. If their brain says, "Everyone thinks you're stupid," they believe it. If their mind whispers, "Something bad is going to happen," they start planning for disaster. If a worried thought appears, they assume it must be important because they're thinking it. This is where the Stoics were revolutionary. They understood that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. There's a part of you that can step back and watch your mind create all this drama without getting caught up in it. Try this right now. For the next 30 seconds, just notice what your mind is doing. Don't try to control it or change it. Just observe. You might notice it jumping from what you had for breakfast to a work deadline to something embarrassing you did 5 years ago. Watch how it moves around like a restless child. This simple act of observation changes everything. The moment you realize you can watch your thoughts, you also realize you don't have to obey them. You can let them come and go like clouds passing through the sky. Some thoughts are useful and worth paying attention to. Most are just mental noise. The Stoics had a practice called objective representation. Instead of letting their minds tell elaborate stories, they would describe situations in simple, factual terms. Instead of thinking, "My boss hates me and I'm probably going to get fired," they would think, "My boss gave me critical feedback about my project." See the difference? One version sends you into a spiral of anxiety and catastrophic thinking. The other version is just information you can work with calmly. Start practicing this today. When you notice your mind creating drama, ask yourself, what are the actual facts here? Strip away the emotional story your brain is adding and focus on what's really happening. You'll be amazed at how many of your problems exist only in your thoughts, not in reality. Remember, having anxious thoughts doesn't make you an anxious person. Having angry thoughts doesn't make you an angry person. Having worried thoughts doesn't mean you need to be worried. These are just mental events passing through your consciousness. You get to choose which ones deserve your attention and which ones you can simply let go. When you stop trusting every thought you think, you reclaim your power. You're no longer at the mercy of whatever random worry or fear your brain decides to produce. You become the director of your own mental experience instead of just a passive victim of your thoughts. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My thoughts do not control me. I choose what to believe. Number 3. Slow down your mind, slow down your life. We live in a world that worships speed, faster internet, quicker responses, instant everything. But here's what nobody tells you. The faster your mind moves, the more anxious and overwhelmed you become. Mental speed isn't a sign of intelligence or productivity. It's often a sign of inner chaos. The ancient Stoics understood something profound about the relationship between mental pace and inner peace. Seneca, who advised emperors and managed vast wealth, wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." He knew that rushing through life meant missing the wisdom that comes from truly experiencing each moment. Think about the last time you felt completely calm and centered. I guarantee your mind wasn't racing. You weren't jumping from thought to thought or trying to solve 17 problems at once. You were present, grounded, and moving at a sustainable pace. But most of us have trained our minds to run like hamsters on a wheel. We wake up and immediately start mental multitasking, thinking about work while getting dressed, planning dinner while brushing our teeth, worrying about tomorrow while trying to focus on today. We've convinced ourselves that this mental juggling act makes us more efficient, but it actually makes us more stressed and less effective at everything. Your mind, like your body, needs rest. It needs moments of stillness to process information, integrate experiences, and restore its natural balance. When you constantly push your mental RPMs into the red zone, you create a state of chronic stress that makes calm impossible. The Stoics practiced something they called prososche, a kind of mindful attention that involved slowing down and really focusing on one thing at a time. They understood that presence isn't just a nice idea, it's a practical tool for maintaining inner peace. Here's how you can start slowing down your mind today. Pick one routine activity that you normally rush through: drinking your morning coffee, walking to your car, washing dishes. For the next week, do this one activity at half your normal speed. Really pay attention to what you're doing instead of letting your mind race ahead to the next task. You'll probably feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain will protest and tell you that you're wasting time. That's normal. You've been training your mind to move fast for years, and it takes practice to shift into a calmer gear. But something magical happens when you slow down your mind. You start noticing things you've been missing. You become more aware of your thoughts and emotions before they spiral out of control. You make better decisions because you're not reacting from a place of mental chaos. You feel more grounded and less scattered. The Stoics also used breathing as a tool for mental pacing. When Marcus Aurelius felt his mind starting to race, he would focus on his breath, not as a meditation technique, but as a way to anchor his attention in the present moment. Breathing happens at the perfect pace for a calm mind. Not too fast, not too slow, just steady and rhythmic. Try this. Right now, take 5 deep breaths and count each one. Notice how this simple act immediately shifts your mental energy. This isn't magic, it's biology. When you slow down your breathing, you send a signal to your nervous system that everything is okay and it's safe to relax. Remember, slowing down your mind doesn't mean becoming lazy or unproductive. It means moving through your day with intention instead of franticness. It means choosing quality over quantity in your thinking. It means giving your mind the space it needs to function at its best. When you slow down your mind, you don't accomplish less. You accomplish better. You make fewer mistakes, have better ideas, and feel more satisfied with what you do. Most importantly, you create the mental conditions where genuine calm can flourish. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I slow down to take back my peace. Number 4, learn to fail without falling apart. Here's something nobody teaches you in school. How you handle failure determines the quality of your entire life. Not your successes, not your talents, not your good luck, your relationship with failure. And most people have the worst possible relationship with it. We've been programmed to see failure as the enemy, something to avoid at all costs, something that proves we're not good enough. But the ancient Stoics saw failure completely differently. To them, failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was information. It was feedback. It was one of life's greatest teachers. Epictetus taught his students, it's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. He understood that failure strips away our illusions and forces us to see reality clearly. Without failure, we stay stuck in our comfortable ignorance. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. Do they interpret each fall as evidence that they're terrible at walking and should give up? Of course not. They get back up because falling is part of learning. Somehow, as adults, we forget this basic truth and start treating every setback like a personal catastrophe. The problem isn't failure itself, it's how we interpret failure. Most people take one failed attempt and create an entire story about their inadequacy. They fail at one relationship and decide they're unlovable. They struggle with one job and conclude they're incompetent. They make one mistake and convince themselves they're failures as human beings. But what if failure was just data? What if it was simply information about what doesn't work, so you can adjust and try something different? The Stoics understood that every failure contains wisdom, but only if you're willing to extract it instead of drowning in self-pity. Here's how to start changing your relationship with failure. The next time something doesn't go according to plan, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what specific information can I learn from this? Not vague self-criticism, but concrete, actionable lessons. Second, what would I tell a good friend who experienced this same setback? Usually, you'd be much kinder and more rational with them than you are with yourself. Third, How can I use this experience to become stronger? Marcus Aurelius faced military defeats, political betrayals, and personal tragedies that would crush most people. But he trained his mind to see every setback as an opportunity to practice virtue. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't positive thinking or pretending bad things are good. This is recognizing that your character is built through challenges, not despite them. Every time you face failure and choose to respond with wisdom instead of weakness, you become more resilient. Every time you get knocked down and get back up, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your circumstances. Start practicing this with small failures. Burn dinner, learn something about cooking, get rejected for a job, gather information about what skills you need to develop, have an awkward social interaction, practice better communication. Each small failure becomes a chance to build your resilience muscles. The most successful people in history aren't those who never failed. They're those who failed the most and learned the fastest. They understood that failure isn't a reflection of their worth as human beings. It's just feedback from reality about what needs to be adjusted. When you learn to fail without falling apart, you become unstoppable, not because you never encounter setbacks, but because setbacks no longer have the power to derail you. You develop what the Stoics called the discipline of desire, the ability to want what happens, especially when what happens is teaching you something important. Remember, every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every person you admire has a long history of failures that shaped them into who they became. Your failures aren't evidence that you should quit. They're evidence that you're learning. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My failures are my teachers, not my enemies. Number 5. Protect your energy. Like your life depends on it. You have a finite amount of mental and emotional energy each day. Most people treat this energy like it's unlimited, pouring it out carelessly on things that don't matter, then wondering why they feel drained and overwhelmed. But your energy is your most precious resource, and the Stoics understood that protecting it is essential for maintaining inner calm. Seneca, despite being one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Rome, was incredibly selective about how he spent his time and energy. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He wasn't just talking about time, he was talking about the mental energy that makes time valuable. Think about your typical day. How much energy do you waste on things that don't actually improve your life? How much mental bandwidth do you spend on other people's drama, social media outrage, news stories you can't influence, or conversations that leave you feeling drained rather than energized? Every time you engage with negativity, every time you get pulled into someone else's chaos, every time you focus on problems you can't solve, you're making a withdrawal from your energy bank account. And unlike your financial bank account, you can't just make more deposits whenever you want. Your energy is replenished through rest, not effort. The ancient Stoics had a concept called the discipline of action, the idea that you should only spend your energy on things that are actually within your control and aligned with your values. Everything else is someone else's responsibility, not yours. This means saying no to energy vampires, those people who always have a crisis, who dump their problems on you without wanting solutions, who leave you feeling exhausted after every interaction. It means limiting your exposure to news and social media that fill your mind with problems you can't solve. It means choosing your battles wisely instead of fighting every fight that comes your way. But protecting your energy isn't just about avoiding negative influences. It's also about being intentional with where you direct your focus. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, confine yourself to the present. He knew that energy spent worrying about the future or ruminating about the past was energy stolen from the only moment where you actually have power, right now. Here's a practical exercise. For 1 week, keep track of what gives you energy and what drains it. Notice which activities, people, and thoughts leave you feeling more alive, and which ones leave you feeling depleted. You'll probably be surprised by what you discover. Some things that drain energy: gossip, complaining, perfectionism, trying to control other people, multitasking, consuming negative media, engaging in arguments you can't win, worrying about things outside your control. Some things that restore energy: time in nature, meaningful conversations, creative activities, physical movement, helping others in ways that align with your values, learning something new, practicing gratitude, spending time alone to recharge. The goal isn't to eliminate all challenging or energy-consuming activities from your life. Some difficult things are worth your energy because they align with your deeper values. The goal is to become conscious about these choices instead of letting your energy leak away unconsciously. Start setting energetic boundaries. Just like you wouldn't let someone steal money from your wallet, don't let people steal energy from your mind. This might mean limiting time with certain people, turning off notifications during focused work, or choosing not to engage in debates that lead nowhere. Remember, when you protect your energy, you're not being selfish, you're being responsible. You can't pour from an empty cup. When you maintain your own energetic resources, you have more to give to the people and causes that truly matter to you. Your energy determines your ability to think clearly, respond calmly, and show up as your best self. Treat it like the precious resource it is. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I guard my energy and spend it wisely. Number 6. Stop trying to win every argument. Here's a truth that will transform your relationships and your peace of mind. You don't need to win every argument. In fact, trying to win every argument is one of the fastest ways to lose your inner calm and damage your connections with others. Most people approach disagreements like they're going to war. They need to prove they're right, make the other person admit they're wrong, and emerge victorious. But the ancient Stoics understood something profound. The need to always be right is actually a sign of inner weakness, not strength. Marcus Aurelius, who had the power to force anyone to agree with him, chose a different path. He wrote, "Whenever you want to cheer yourself, consider the good qualities of your companions." Instead of focusing on how others were wrong, he looked for ways they might be right. This wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Think about the last argument you had. What were you really fighting for? Were you trying to solve a problem, or were you trying to protect your ego? Were you seeking truth, or were you seeking validation? Most arguments aren't actually about the topic being discussed. They're about two people desperately trying to prove their worth by being right. But here's what happens when you always need to win. You create enemies instead of allies. You turn conversations into competitions. You miss opportunities to learn something new because you're too busy defending what you already believe. You exhaust yourself and others with unnecessary conflict. The Stoics had a revolutionary approach to disagreements. Instead of trying to win, they tried to understand. Instead of proving their point, they looked for common ground. Instead of making others wrong, they made themselves curious. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or stop having opinions. It means you choose your battles wisely and approach disagreements from a place of strength rather than insecurity. A confident person doesn't need to win every argument because their self-worth isn't tied to being right all the time. Here's how to practice this. The next time someone disagrees with you, instead of immediately preparing your counter-argument, ask yourself, what if they have a point I haven't considered? Then ask them, help me understand your perspective better. This simple shift changes the entire dynamic from combat to collaboration. Sometimes you'll discover they're completely right and you were wrong. That's not humiliating, that's learning. Sometimes you'll find that you're both partially right and can combine your perspectives to reach a better solution. Sometimes you'll realize that you're dealing with a fundamental difference in values that can't be resolved through argument. Epictetus taught his students, when someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval. When you're truly confident in who you are, you don't need to prove it by winning arguments. You can afford to be generous with others because your self-worth doesn't depend on their agreement. This is especially important in close relationships. The people you love don't need to be defeated. They need to be understood. Your partner, your children, your friends aren't opponents to be conquered. They're fellow human beings trying to navigate life just like you are. Start practicing what the Stoics called the discipline of assent, the ability to examine your need to be right before you engage in conflict. Ask yourself, is this argument worth the energy it will cost? Will winning this debate actually improve the situation? Am I trying to solve a problem or just prove a point? Many times you'll find that the most powerful response to disagreement is simply, I see it differently, but I respect your perspective. This isn't giving up. It's choosing peace over pride. When you stop trying to win every argument, something beautiful happens. People start actually listening to you because you're not attacking them. Conversations become more productive because everyone feels safe to share their real thoughts. Your relationships improve because people feel respected rather than defeated. Remember, the goal of communication isn't to prove you're the smartest person in the room. It's to connect, understand, and sometimes find solutions together. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose understanding over winning. Number 7, live from the inside out, not the outside in. This is where everything comes together. This final principle is the foundation that makes all the others possible. Most people live their entire lives from the outside in. They let external circumstances determine their internal state. But the ancient Stoics discovered the secret to unshakable calm, living from the inside out. What does this mean? It means your peace, your joy, your sense of worth, and your emotional stability come from your inner character, not from your outer circumstances. It means you generate your own weather instead of being tossed around by the storms outside. Epictetus taught, no one can harm you without your permission. This wasn't naive optimism. This was hard-won wisdom from someone who learned to find strength in the one place no one could touch, his own mind. Living from the outside in looks like this. Your mood depends on whether people are nice to you today. Your self-worth fluctuates based on your achievements or failures. Your peace requires everything in your life to be going well. Your happiness depends on getting what you want when you want it. You're constantly at the mercy of forces beyond your control. Living from the inside out looks completely different. Your mood is stable because it comes from your connection to your own values, not other people's behavior. Your self-worth is grounded in your character, not your accomplishments. Your peace comes from accepting what is while working toward what could be. Your happiness comes from appreciating what you have while pursuing growth. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to external circumstances. You still have goals, preferences, and desires, but you're no longer dependent on these things for your fundamental well-being. You can want things without needing them. You can pursue goals without being devastated if they don't work out exactly as planned. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. Despite managing an empire, fighting wars, and dealing with political intrigue, he reminded himself, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. He found his center in principles that no external force could disturb. Here's how to start living from the inside out. Begin each day by connecting with something that matters to you, your values, your purpose, your gratitude for being alive. End each day by reflecting on how well you lived according to your own standards, not other people's expectations. When external things go wrong, and they will, ask yourself, how can I respond to this in a way that aligns with who I want to be? Instead of being a victim of circumstances, become the author of your responses. This is where real power lives. Create an internal scorecard based on things you can actually control. Did I treat people with kindness today? Did I do my best work? Did I learn something new? Did I choose courage over comfort? Did I respond to challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity? The most profound shift happens when you realize that everything you've been seeking externally, peace, joy, confidence, love, already exists within you. It's not something you need to get from the world. It's something you need to uncover within yourself. This is the ultimate Stoic teaching. You are not a leaf blown around by the wind of circumstances. You are the tree, rooted, steady, growing from the inside out. Your branches may sway with external pressures, but your core remains strong and unmoved. When you live from the inside out, you become truly free. Free from the exhausting need to control everything around you. Free from the anxiety that comes from depending on external validation. Free to be genuinely yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you someone else. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My strength comes from within, not from my circumstances. You now have 7 powerful principles that can transform your relationship with stress, challenge, and uncertainty. But knowing these ideas isn't enough. You have to practice them. The Stoics understood that philosophy without application is just intellectual entertainment. These aren't quick fixes or magic solutions. They're practices that require consistency and patience. Some days you'll apply them perfectly. Other days you'll forget everything and react from old patterns. That's normal. Growth isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Start with one principle that resonates most deeply with you. Practice it consistently for a month before adding another. Remember, you're literally rewiring your brain to respond to life differently. This takes time, but every moment you spend training your mind is an investment in your future peace. The ancient Stoics faced wars, plagues, betrayals, and losses that would break most people. Yet they found a way to maintain inner peace through it all, not because their lives were easy, but because they understood something profound. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts and responses. You have everything you need right now to begin this journey. You don't need perfect conditions, unlimited time, or a stress-free life. You just need the willingness to see challenges as opportunities to practice these principles. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Your thoughts have been creating your experience of life up until now. Starting today, you can begin consciously directing those thoughts toward calm, wisdom, and inner strength. Remember, you're not trying to eliminate all stress from your life. That's impossible and wouldn't be healthy anyway. You're learning to meet whatever life brings with grace, wisdom, and unshakable inner peace. The path of the Stoic isn't always easy, but it's always worthwhile. Every time you choose calm over chaos, wisdom over reactivity, and inner strength over external dependence, you become more of who you're truly meant to be. Your journey to unshakable calm starts now. Not when your life gets easier, not when people understand you better, not when everything goes according to plan, but right now, in this moment, with whatever circumstances you're facing. If this video has been valuable to you, please hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel for more wisdom on living a truly peaceful life. Your future self will thank you for starting this practice today. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am building unshakable calm from the inside out.